She's particularly dedicated to helping her country become a regional conference hub for East Africa. Her company has a wide spread of services such as translation, content production, and social media usage. So welcome, Barbara.
Thank you so much, Nan, for having me.
So, Barbara, in your role of pastor, what have you done to inspire healing and hope and strength during COVID?
Well, these COVID times are truly unprecedented. They have taken the world by surprise. So, which is automatic to understand that even in the church, so many things have changed, so many lives have changed with these COVID times. And in my role as a pastor and in my church, the focus was not only to give hope to people, but to also provide ways of survival for the people. So the church in which I am a pastor created funds, raised funds, and tried within its resources to buy food and feed the vulnerable members of the church, literally feed them, and also feed people who live nearby our church, our sanctuary building. So we have, yes, given hope, encouraged people, but in such a time, especially with the lockdown that the country entered in, we had to find ways to feed our people. So our focus has been so really towards the humanitarian efforts, towards providing something substantial, something tangible, more than just encouraging them, more than inspiration. When someone is hungry, you can't give them proverbs. When someone didn't eat last night, when their baby spent the whole night crying because they have no food, you can't preach the gospel to them. In these times, what the church is doing is finding ways to feed people. So that's what we have been doing as a church. We've been raising funds. I've also been part of some committees that have been raising funds, finding ways to feed the poor of our church, but also the poor people who live in the neighborhoods around our churches. Yeah, so it hasn't been more of inspiration. It has been more of feeding people the next...
The real part of just survival.
The real work.
The real work of survival.
Yes.
Have you had any of your congregation actually die from COVID?
No. Currently, Rwanda has only reported 3 cases of death, 3 death cases. So what happened in the country once we saw that the virus was advancing, we automatically went into total lockdown. I think news of Rwanda has spread all over the world. Like everything shut down, and that really saved lives. Like shutting down the first 2 months, we were shut down in March and April. So it was total lockdown, really, and that saved lives. But again, people struggled. That's where I was saying this is where feeding comes in. This is where we have to raise funds to feed the people, because if you shut them, they can't go out to work. They can't do what was feeding them. So because of the shutdown and fully obeying the measures set in place, we haven't had death cases. We just had 3. And even those 3 death cases are people who got COVID outside Rwanda. They came with COVID-19 and they came to Rwanda because they are Rwandans who were living abroad, and they came with it and they had complications already. By the time they reached the country, they were really sick, but no one in country has died yet.
Well, that is really very positive. Because they took steps early. It was a federal initiative. You did all the right things. Now, the last time I talked to you, you were working on a broadcast to bring to light different social and economic issues in Rwanda. Has that come to fruition?
I ran into some challenges. Because that production was requiring some funds, which I didn't have readily available. As you know, my business hasn't been there for so long. I'm 3 years now in business, so we were still struggling, and I had to move some investments from here to there. But I'm still working on it. And I'm targeting that I should have launched the broadcast at least in August. But then COVID-19 also kind of confused a few things here and there. But the major accomplishment that I got this year was that I got a TV station to sign me on. So I already have a TV station. I have space. So I've been working on decorating the space and coming up with the furniture and equipment needed for me to really go out there and start. But I have a TV station that is ready to host me, which is different from last year when I came to the US. I was still at the stage of looking for TV stations and, saying, okay, I will produce content, and then I have to go and look for a TV station to buy my content. But the good news is that this year I landed a contract with a TV station, one of the upcoming big TV stations now, which has a lot of viewership, young people viewership. The focus now on the country is raising the next generation, raising young people, equipping young people, because Rwanda is a very young country. The youth is above 60% of the whole population. So I'm in good hands. I would say that this year, this contract with this TV station really was a good achievement. Now I'm focusing on getting myself ready, getting the set ready, and producing content. So I'm targeting that by August. Latest in August, I should have my first episodes out. Yeah.
That's great. Is the content with the younger population being prevalent? Is your content changing on your business goals?
Not really. If anything, I think it's going to advance my business goals. Because this content with the partnership, the contract I have with this TV station, it's going to advance me even faster than I was anticipating. So I intend to reach a place where I can have my own studio, where I can have my own production site. So part of what I do in content production at Eclair Communications, I would say that I'm on the right path. Baby steps, but sure baby steps.
That's wonderful. What are your future hopes for Rwanda?
Oh, wow. That's a big question.
I know.
Wow. First of all, I know this might sound like a cliche, but I love Rwanda. I love my country. And my hope is that we keep having this environment where we are allowed to grow, where we are allowed to expand, where we are allowed to go to the next level. I think if you remember from the last episode I did with you, I told you Rwanda is the only country in Africa, well, among the only countries in Africa, where we haven't had any shooting for the last 26 years. So this is the safest place for me to be now. And my hope is that it stays like this and even becomes better. And we keep having opportunities. And being a woman in Rwanda at this time is the best thing. being a Rwandan woman at this time is the best thing because of the opportunities we have in business, the opportunities we have in leadership, the opportunities. There's so many opportunities for us. And the good leadership that we have is also pushing for more young people to take their position, to step up. So my hope is that it stays like this and even becomes better, because what we see is giving us hope for even a brighter future. Yeah.
Well, and you know very well that it hasn't always been that way. So sometimes you have to go through the bad times to really appreciate the good times.
Yes. Oh, definitely, yes. Because we know where we are coming from, we know where we have been, and I think right now Rwandans are looking towards fiercely protecting what we have now, because what we have is precious comparing to where we are coming from. I mean, judging by even simple examples, not so simple, but simple examples. Right now, we only have 3 deaths from COVID-19. And other countries are struggling with thousands. I mean, look at the US.
Exactly.
You have so much going on. So I would say that where we are, it's good, it's promising, and it's giving us hope for the future. And as a businesswoman, with this environment, with the ease of doing business, with the opportunities that we have, with the push for more women taking position in business, taking position in leadership, I mean, this is good. This is really good for us. We just have to keep working hard. We just have to, knowing how to deal well with the beautiful hand that we've been dealt with.
Well, you have, and you're really making such strides that it's great. Do you have any last advice for our listeners?
Well, in these times, especially in these COVID times, I would tell the people, please wear a mask. Why do you even go in the public without wearing a mask? Please wear your masks. Please maintain the social distance. Please, we beg you. I mean, we look at the situation in the US and we cry for you people. We're like, oh my God, these people, this is crazy. This is unbelievable. So it's basically so simple. Just wear your masks, just social distance, wash your hands. I mean, it has been difficult for us Rwandans because our culture is very social, very embracing. So we are the kind of people who greet each other by shaking hands, by hugging, by kissing on the cheeks. So to wake up one morning and tell us that we can't hug anymore and this is the only thing that will save our lives, it has been so hard for us not to hug. So I would tell Americans, and I know Americans love to hug, I would tell Americans, please don't hug, stay safe. We need you alive because, the whole world is connected. We are all connected. You are someone's blessing. We are your blessing. We need you to stay alive. And as you stay alive in this climate, in this environment, in the environment that you're in, and I'm focusing on the US because I'm assuming or presuming that most listeners are American. I would say just stay alive, stay safe. And even in these times that are very difficult for your country, we are praying for you. We are standing with you. And we are hoping that all will pass. We know it hasn't been easy. We see the Black Lives Matter movement, and we see how it's interpreted by different people. It's intense. But we're saying that we're standing with America. We are praying with America. And we are hoping that America will come out of this stronger and more at peace with itself, that all Americans will find safety and peace in America.
Well, thank you so much for your wishes. And I wish they would do. I wish the same, and I wish much health and happiness for you. So thank you so much for feeding the people and all the things that you're doing in Rwanda.
Thank you so much, Nan. Thank you.
Barbara Crain. Barbara, along with her husband, pioneered grass-fed dairy and beef in the state of Oklahoma. Together, they have taken a tired, underproducing wheat farm and turned it into a profitable, environmentally responsible, value-added grass-fed dairy farm. They began dairy farming in 1991 and built the processing plant in 2005 so they could process their own milk. Barbara oversees manufacturing, marketing, and distribution of all the products. She'd like to be an example of how a small farm can be profitable, sustainable, and a viable option for the next generation. So welcome, Barbara Crain.
Thank you, Nan. It's good to be here.
Where did you start, and how did you arrive at this spot in your business?
Well, my husband grew up in western Oklahoma on a farm, and after living overseas early in our marriage, we had the opportunity to come back to Oklahoma and dairy farm with his family. After about a decade of that, we got really tired of playing the commodity game where we had no control over the price that we got for our milk and seeing no future in conventional dairy farming. So we began to explore the value-added angle. And in 2005, we built the Creamery so that we could process our own milk and sell it directly to the public. And so it's been quite a learning curve over the next 15 years, but it's been a decision that we're really glad we made.
So the difference is in commodities. When you're in the commodity end of it, your milk has to be processed by somebody else. Is that how it works?
Correct. So every 2 days, the truck would come and pick up our raw milk and take it to a processing plant somewhere away from the farm and make it into various products. But we had no control over the price that we would get, and the price would always fluctuate, and there was no way to make a sustainable business out of that. The price was never high enough, long enough to make it viable.
And that was primarily because of a middleman, in a sense?
That's part of it. American agriculture is in quite a crisis with commodities in general. But yes, the amount of money that the farmer gets is bottom of the barrel, especially compared to what the consumer actually ends up paying. So this way we could go directly to the consumer, and that way we could look for our own markets also and not have to depend on middlemen and just the complications that are out there for farmers right now.
So you have done a variety of products for the farm. What kind of products are there that you sell?
We do Greek yogurt and butter. We do a variety of cheeses like cheddar, pepper jack, ricotta. We also have grass-fed beef. Since we're a grass-fed dairy, that's a natural product that we do. And we have a commercial kitchen on farms. We're able to do some things in the kitchen like granola and granola bars. It just gives us a little flexibility.
So how has the coronavirus affected you and your business?
Interestingly, it's actually helped us in many ways in that people have become aware of the breakdowns that we have in our food system. And with us being able to sell directly to the public, people are realizing that, I think I'd kind of like to know a farmer if things get bad. And so it was difficult in one sense that our major farmers market was canceled due to the coronavirus for 2 months. But the staff of the farmers market and the businesses in that area worked together with us to allow us to continue to meet our customers just for a drop-off situation. So we were actually able to do very well during those months that the market was suspended because we had that direct relationship already established with our customers, and they were able to meet us there. The biggest problem that we've faced is the inability to get our beef into the butcher now because of all the incidents with the coronavirus in the great big packing plants. That has filtered down to these little local butchers. They're overwhelmed with beef and pork because people can't get into the big butchers. So we are not able to get our beef in to be processed in a timely manner like we ordinarily would. So once we are able to get a couple animals in to be processed, they're sold within 2 weeks, whereas in the past it would take a couple months to sell that much beef. But then we have no more beef for weeks or even months that we can even process. So that brings us back to how grateful we are to have our own dairy processing facility, because we process the dairy products here on farm, so we don't have that issue with the dairy end of the business.
And I imagine it's kind of hard to plan for tomorrow when today is so uncertain.
It's very hard, and we're realizing more and more how little control we have over things. And you can plan and prepare as best you can, but ultimately you don't know what tomorrow will bring. And so I would say that that's where my faith really comes into play, because I know there's a lot that I can't control, but I'm secure in knowing that my Creator is in control, and therefore I don't need to be fearful of the future, but I can make the plans as best I can, be flexible, try to adjust, and ultimately be at peace.
When you are selling beef, what comes through my head, just because I don't know anything about it, is couldn't you just keep the cow for another year? Or until the cycle comes where maybe we don't have to worry about COVID and the butchers aren't as busy anymore?
Yes, in our case, we can do that. But a lot of big farms, they don't have enough pasture for their cattle. They, especially out here in western Oklahoma, people run their cattle on wheat during the winter, and then they have to pull them off in March and sell them because the wheat's going to be harvested, and they have nowhere to go with their cattle. And so they don't have an option. They were just kind of losing out. With our pasture-based system, we do have the flexibility. And so, in fact, that's what we've done. Cattle that we were planning to butcher ourselves, we just will hold on to and do it later.
So it kind of changes your business plan and your business goals for the year, right?
Yes, it does. And so, again, just having to be flexible, figure out what will work, and to focus on the things that we can do. So, for example, with the beef and the dairy, I can't do anything about the backlog at the butcher except be on a waiting list. But with the dairy, we can focus on that, and so try to promote our dairy products more and be able to get more business with the dairy.
Are you in touch with any of the women who have stayed with you in the past, from Rwanda or
yes,
from
actually,
Afghanistan?
Yes, I was recently in touch with one of the women from Afghanistan. Partly I was curious whether she was going to be able to see that eclipse that occurred in that part of the world, and then asked about her business and how it was going. And unfortunately for her, the coronavirus has taken quite a toll, and it's suspended her business for now. But she's hoping that as they return to normal, she can start it up again.
Were the women who stayed with you, did they have the same kind of business that you do?
Similar. Two of the women have been here, have been involved in dairy, and then the third one was actually involved in vermiculture. But we were the only farm available, so that was as close as they could get that year to allowing her to visit a similar business.
What have you learned from having the women there?
That has been a delightful opportunity just to hear their stories and learn more about their lives and their situations. And one really comment, this woman from Afghanistan that I was really in touch with, when she was here, she made the comment at one point that it must be so easy to have a business in America. And my first thought was, well, it's not really that easy. But then I thought, yeah, it is that easy compared to her context. I've got it so much easier. I live where there's a stable government and infrastructure, and so it's made me, in a sense, really appreciate the good things that I have here in America, and realize, what an amazing group of women these are, and how they have such different obstacles to overcome than I would even dream of.
I have spoken with Manisha and Sharifa from Afghanistan this last week, and they are having such a problem with security and with terrorist groups coming in, came into the hospital and killed people. It's just so worrisome for them. Everything that they do, it seems like 2 steps forward and 3 back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Especially during
those are issues I never even think about.
Yeah. We don't worry about that kind of safety. We worry maybe about, is somebody going to break in the house or something, which is unlikely.
Right.
But it is a big concern for them.
Yeah.
Did you have both Rwanda and Afghanistan women with you?
Yes. The first time were 2 Afghani ladies, and then the second time my lady from Rwanda. And then last summer, she didn't stay with me, but I had a visit from a lady from Afghanistan who also had a dairy. And so she just came for the day to see our processing and learn about how we're dealing with our milk and making things.
I bet I know her. I bet I podcasted her last year.
I bet so.
What advice do you have for women business owners amid this coronavirus pandemic?
You have to be flexible, and don't be afraid to go in a different direction if you need to. And there are a lot of things out of your control, and you have to focus on the things that you can deal with, that you can change, and not worry about the things that you can't.
That is very good advice, because it's hard to plan when you just don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Right. And so, in some cases it may be, that you do just to suspend for a while and survive, and then get back to, when things do return to normal, be able to pick back up when you can. And everyone's situation is different, and so I realize some of these ladies are in such very, very tough spots, and I just admire their fortitude and their willingness to push on through.
I do too. Thank you so much for sharing all that with us today. I really appreciate it. I appreciate your time, and I know it must be hard to put that foot in front of each other time and time again when you don't know what's going to happen. But you seem to be able to get through it. You've repositioned. You've looked at things in a different way, and I really applaud you for that.
Well, thank you very much, and thanks for a chance to be here.